Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo Story. General Qamar Bajwa has passed the baton to General Asim Munir. General Asim Munir, Pakistan's former ISI chief, has assumed charge of the country's new army chief, replacing General Bajwa, who retired after he got a 3-year extension. Now, General Asim Munir became the 17th Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan. The appointment of an army chief is significant in Pakistan since the country has been ruled by the army for more than half of its existence. The army has a significant say in the politics and security affairs of the country. Significantly, former Prime Minister Imran Khan, in his Hakiki Azadi March, recently announced that the assemblies of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where his party is in power, will be dissolved. Also significantly, General Faiz Hamid, who was on the list of army generals in the summary that was given by the army headquarters to the prime minister for the selection of the army chief, he was also the ISA chief when Taliban took over power in Afghanistan when US left. He has now reportedly resigned. Now, we're joined by an eminent panel to discuss these developments in Pakistan. We're joined by Commodore Udhay Bhaskar, who joins us from India. He's Director, SPS. We're also joined by Ali Moeen Nawazish, who is a journalist, who joins us from Pakistan. We're joined by Muhammad Ahmad Pansota, who's an advocate and also keeps an eye on the political developments in Pakistan. We're joined by Taha Cheema, political analyst, and we are also joined by Wajahat Khan, who's a journalist. He also joins us. Welcome all to the show. If I may start with you, Ahmed Pansota, you are an advocate and you are also representing Imran Khan's party. Uh, it's been a constant and a sustained campaign by Imran Khan against the establishment over the last few months. Do you see tempers cooling now after the appointment of the new army chief?
Thank you. First of all, a slight correction. I am representing Imran Khan as his counsel, as an advocate, but I'm not part of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
Right, right.
However,
Yes,
to
yes,
answer your
yes.
question,
Yeah.
as far as your questions are concerned, I think this new change and this new appointment, especially after General Bajwa is gone, is certainly going to cool down things substantially. Because you see, we've been talking about it time and again, especially in your programs. I remember that there was a large portion of PTI sentiment which was somewhat against the establishment, and at that point in time, the establishment was being led by General Bajwa, being the military chief. But I think now, after this new appointment, this change of guard in Pakistan Army, there is obviously a thought on part of Pakistan Army as well and the establishment as well to cool down things and to make sure there is stability in the country. And I think I was going through somebody's tweet. Apparently, the new chief of army staff also wants the institution's reputation as that's his first task, to improve the reputation once again, and that aspect of army being involved in the politics should first of all be clarified. Secondly, I think Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, after its recent announcement in the Hakiki Azadi March, by saying that they would like to go for the dissolution of assemblies or resignations, has substantially made its intention clear. So yes, that danger of them going to Islamabad and then sort of ransacking Islamabad is also somewhat, I would have subsided. So I think things are pretty much cool now. But yes, the real question now is when the elections are going to take place, because that's what Imran Khan desperately wants, and that's exactly with something that will benefit Imran Khan in the longer run. Because if he waits for the elections and
Right,
Pakistan Muslim League gets the time to perform, or maybe any other
right.
aspect, I think things will be different. But at this point in time, elections is what Imran Khan is asking for.
Yes, he's been asking for elections for a long time now. Wajad Saeed Khan, do you think that there are many challenges to the new army chief? He's faced with multiple challenges. There is rising uh, militancy, terrorism. Uh, Taliban has again announced that they are going to renew attacks in Pakistan. On the other hand, there is reputation of the army. What, according to you, are the biggest challenge for the new army chief?
Thanks, Zafar, and a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my other friends here. Slight correction. In your introduction, you said that this is the 17th Army Chief. He's actually the 16th. There's 5 Commander in
Okay.
Chiefs and then the Chief of
Yeah.
Army Staff. But,
Yeah.
anyways, Um, it's an excellent question, Zafar. As far as I'm concerned, I don't agree with my friend Pansota's view that things have calmed down. Perhaps momentarily, people are, generally speaking, satisfied that General Bajwa has walked out the door without creating a bigger fuss than he's already made quite a mess of things, frankly speaking. But the new army chief is faced by multiple problems, and let's just list them in a very short Twitter-sized listing here. He is faced with a crisis of confidence within the Pakistani military, the largest, most organized force in the country. This is a very powerful institution. It's generally been a very popular institution. Right now, its power, its privileges, its popularity are all under fire because of the lack of popularity and the controversial decisions made by the outgoing army chief. So he has to clean house internally, whether that'll be a purge. We're seeing signs of that happening. Senior officers are resigning. Whether it will be an image building PR campaign, much required, definitely required. But overall, the first problem is that he has to clean house. The second problem, of course, is the larger political, economic conditions of the country. On the one hand, there is a crisis brewing with this whole election business. Will there be snap elections? Will there not be? What will be the role of the army? Now, according to my sources, he's met with his men just yesterday, the new army chief, and told them that we're not going to be political. That's almost impossible in Pakistan. The Pakistani military gets dragged into politics, even with the best of intentions. And by the way, intentions are questionable right now. So one thing is that he has to sort this mess out, and my friends can continue to tell you what the political mess is, but it's Imran Khan versus everybody else right now. That's the
Right,
gist. But the larger
right,
issue, the really big issue right now, is
right.
of course the economy, and the economy is something which not only feeds the army, it also feeds the people. Pakistan has the
Yes,
highest inflation rate in South Asia. Pakistan has less than 4 weeks
right.
worth of foreign reserves.
Yeah,
Pakistan deals with the IMF, which by
yeah.
the way, the Pakistani military has underwritten. The outgoing army chief was also, in a way, your finance minister in chief because he was
Well. That those are very important points that you are making. But Ali Moeen Nawazish, you would agree that cleaning the house, cleaning his own house, will be perhaps the biggest challenge. And then, economy, politics, that's in a state of flux in Pakistan. It's a very tough situation out there. And even if the army chief would not want to be dragged into politics, army eventually, directly or indirectly, gets dragged into politics one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about cleaning house, there's just so many aspects to that. Do you clean house in terms of your image building? Do you clean house or purge people um, who were in this intense competition to become the next army chief and brought in their own very particular views about what this office should do? I think it was the cleaning house in terms of getting everyone in line or the discipline of the army. The new army chief always has this period when he comes in. There is support, and those challenges I do not foresee to be as big as I think someone already said that when the new army chief comes in, there's this certain goodwill that might be easier. But the bigger problem would be steering clear of politics, which I do not think will be possible in any circumstance or any way, especially with Imran Khan wanting snap elections, uh, building pressure on social media, and really getting a certain segment of society which was never this anti-military to be so vocal and so public about their stance. So I think that's going to be the bigger challenge. And then somehow I don't foresee the challenge of staying away from politics. I foresee the challenge to be brokering some sort of an arrangement where all the political stakeholders, whether it's Imran Khan, whether it's the PDM, of coming together in a way which will be workable for the country, because at the same time the political crisis is not the only crisis that Pakistan's facing right now. The bigger crisis is the economy. We just had the floods. Our IMF program is detracking. Risk of default is rising. Default swaps are going through the roof. So on the one hand you have this political crisis, and then on the other hand you have this existential crisis. So I think navigating both of these waters and trying to bring some semblance of political stability so that the country and the economy can become stable is going to be the biggest challenge. And whether that's
Right.
through trying to create some sort of level playing field where everyone's happy, trying to broker and arrange a political arrangement where everyone gets kind
Right.
of a face saving that everyone's talking about. So I think it's not about staying away from politics, but it's about fixing the political mess while seeming to stay away from politics.
Well, that's a very interesting way to put it. But Dr. Tahir Cheema, uh, what would you say? Will it be possible for the army chief to broker some sort of a deal, some sort of an agreement between different political forces in Pakistan, given that there is so much polarization? Would it be possible? I think there were reports that the army chief that just left the office today also tried to uh, bring them together onto the table in a single room, but that did not happen.
Jesus, sir, I would have spoken in English, but I will go for
Yeah,
Urdu because
आप उर्दू में
most
बोलिए.
of
हाँ,
our people speak Urdu, and I will prefer.
हाँ, आप उर्दू में बोलिए. हाँ, आप
हाँ जी, देखिए,
उर्दू में.
जब नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन हुई तो इमरान खान एक ऐसा शख्स है जिसको पावर का नशा है, यू नो दैट. जब एक डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोसेस होता है, वो उसको अनडेमोक्रेटिकली, इलीगली, वो एक आर्मी चीफ के ऊपर जब प्रेशर डालेगा कि मुझे दोबारा पावर में लेकर आओ, और जब इमरान खान पावर में नहीं होगा और वो किसी दूसरे को भी नहीं आने देगा. आप देख रहे हैं जब ये बड़े बड़े धरने हो रहे हैं, ये धरने, ये प्रोटेस्ट करके व्हाट इज गोइंग टू, मतलब कि पाकिस्तानी अवाम को क्या दिखाना चाहता है? ही इज डिलीवरिंग द एंटी स्टेट नैरेटिव. जो एंटी स्टेट नैरेटिव मोस्टली आपने देखा है कि वो नैरेटिव को इंडियन मीडिया ने बड़ा प्रोपोगेट किया है अपने चैनल्स पे, कि मतलब हमें तो यही लगता था कि ये इंडियन मीडिया का ही नैरेटिव इमरान खान लेकर चल रहा है. तो एंटी स्टेट जो है वो उनका दिल था कि जनरल बाजवा साहब को गंदा किया जाए, उनके जितने भी, क्योंकि इनकी जनरल आसिम मुनीर साहब जो रिसेंट जो आर्मी स्टाफ हैं, उन्होंने इनकी जो कुछ चीजें ऐसी पकड़ी थी, जैसे कि इनकी जो वाइफ थी उसके बारे में इन्होंने उनकी चोरी भी पकड़ी थी, ये हार की चोरी, आपको सब पता ही है. तो इनके कुछ पर्सनल क्लैशेस भी जनरल आसिम मुनीर
नहीं,
साहब
क्या ये मुमकिन होगा कि जो नया आर्मी चीफ है वो एक तरह से एक कॉम्प्रोमाइज सॉर्ट ऑफ ए सोल्यूशन जो अलग अलग पॉलिटिकल फोर्स है उनके बीच में पैदा करेंगे, क्योंकि पोलराइजेशन बहुत ज्यादा है पाकिस्तान में.
देखिए, एंटी स्टेट नैरेटिव इमरान खान साहब ने क्रिएट कर लिया है. पहले देखें, अभी ये नए आर्मी चीफ हैं, इनको पहले अपने इंस्टीट्यूशन में अपनी चीजों को दुरुस्त करना होगा. आर्मी तो कब की अपने आप को ए पॉलिटिकल कह रही है. देखें जफर साहब, इमरान खान साहब जो है आज ये आज स्लोगन रेस कर रहे हैं ना कि आर्मी पॉलिटिकल जो है वो पॉलिटिकल मैटर्स में इंटरफेयर करती है, लेकिन ये खुद इस चीज के रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. ये खुद आर्मी को यूज करते रहे अपनी कुर्सी, अपने आप को पावर में लाने के लिए. तो मेरे ख्याल है, मेरा, क्योंकि जनरल आसिम मुनीर साहब गुजरांवाला में भी रहे हैं और मेरी उनके साथ पर्सनली भी बड़ी आपस में मुलाकातें भी रही हैं, उनसे बातें भी रही हैं जनरल साहब से, तो मैं उन्हें बड़ा अच्छा ए पॉलिटिकली देखता हूं और मुझे उम्मीद है कि वो आने वाली सियासत में अपना बड़ा किरदार अदा करेंगे. देखें, एक लास्ट बात कह रहा, चलो, बड़े बड़े प्रोटेस्ट करने से, एंटी स्टेट नैरेटिव करने से ये क्या हासिल कर लेंगे? इनकी जब गवर्नमेंट थी, टीएलपी ने, जो साद रिजवी साहब थे, इन्होंने बड़े बड़े प्रोटेस्ट किए तरीके लबई पाकिस्तान ने, इन्होंने उनके ऊपर जुल्म भी किए, जबकि स्टेट इनके साथ इतनी अच्छी रही है, इमरान खान के साथ इनके ऊपर एक जुल्म भी नहीं किया. इनको स्टेट हमेशा अपना लाडला ट्रीट करती रही है. आप कंपेयर करें ना.
Yes. Let's get a perspective from India also. Commodore Udhay Bhaskar, India must be keenly watching the developments in Pakistan. At the time of General Bajwa, Pulwama happened, Balakot followed, and then there was sort of a counter from Pakistan, and also the ceasefire agreement was renewed at the line of control. How do you foresee sort of impact on India with the introduction of a new army chief in Pakistan?
The reading from here in India, and I can only speak for myself, is that yes, I think the first box that you mentioned, whenever there is a change at the helm of the Pakistani army and there is a new chief, it is something that is monitored with a fair amount of interest. And when the announcement was made, and even in the run up to the decision about General Munir, when there was speculation about who would
Yes.
become the next army chief in Pakistan, I would say the local media, the major newspapers, on television, there was a fair amount of coverage. So I think that first observation is valid, that the change of vehicle in Pakistan in Rawalpindi GHQ is something that does generate a fair amount of professional indignation and but immediately outside General Munir is that as far as Pakistan's military's policy vis-a-vis India, there would be continuity. Now, the big thing that happened with General Bajwa was the after the Balakot Pulwama incidents that you have already mentioned, and that has been relatively stable. That has been noticed as far as India is concerned. And I think there would be a wait and watch about what kind of signals, what kind of policies would be outlined by the new chief. And anybody who has been along the line of control will be able to get a sense about the calibration that is taking place. Will it be status quo in terms of the existing procedures and protocols that are in place, which were instituted when General Bajwa was the chief, or will there be any change? I think that will be evidenced. And I think the related issue, which would also be of interest to India, is I think the kind of orientation about India's own concern apropos terrorism. Now, this is also related to Afghanistan, support groups, whatever be the kind of, I would say, assessment that India has about the Pakistan Army's own role and how it has nurtured, abetted this particular challenge for India. And the last point, if I may add, Zafar Saab, I think what India would also be looking at is to see how the political equations work out between the political leadership in Pakistan, the Prime Minister who's sitting, Mr. Imran Khan, whose political profile and his own agenda has already been discussed by my other co panelists, and whether the Pakistan army remains apolitical, as is being said, and General Bajwa's own assertion, or, and this is my own observation as an analyst who studied Pakistan for a long time, is that institutionally the Pakistani army in particular has got certain stakes in Pakistan. It has certain interests. To compress this and to use the reference that one of our panelists made about the Twitter format, I just want to say that one of the strongly held, I would say, views in India is Pakistan Army and Military Inc. You know, the title of the book that Dr. Aisha Siddiqa had written, that there are strong interests for the Pakistani military, the army in particular. How would they be affected by the public statement that the Pakistani army would remain apolitical? Does it go back to the barracks? And these are the questions that I think do come to mind. But over to you.
Yes, Wajahat, Saeed Khan, can actually Pakistani army remain apolitical? Pakistani army chiefs have been asserting that. General Bajwa, in his recent address, in his last address, in fact, spoke about that, and he said that army has decided in February 2021, perhaps, that now here on it's going to remain apolitical. It's not going to dabble in power. Will that be possible, given that parties, political forces are directly or indirectly bringing army into picture? If we talk about Imran Khan, he's referring, using words like neutrals, Mir Jafar, Mir Sadiq. Then there was Nawaz Sharif, who was calling names of the army chief and the ISI chief. How is that? How is that work out? You know, we're talking about the challenge of the new army chief, but it's a pattern. Will that pattern ever break?
Zaffar, that's the 600,000 man question. That's, by the way, the size of the army, which is technically the world's sixth largest fighting force. But in my opinion, it's also the largest political party in Pakistan. And that's just because it's a victim of its own structures and systems, right? I mean, the ambit of its premier intelligence agency is the ISI, is national security. The other day, I was having a conversation with the general saying, what does that mean? And he says, everything. I'm like, no, what does national security for the ISI mean? He's like, everything, man, everything. So that just doesn't mean keeping an eye on the Indians or the Afghans or the Iranians or the Americans. That means literally everything, and that includes politics. Now, since partition, the outsized role of the army in pretty much every sphere of life today reflects today. Today they make movies. Today they make sure that polio is fought. Today they're fighting COVID. Today they're doing flood relief. Now, some of these things are commendable. Great. People need to fight COVID and people need the army's help in flood relief. However, the system of the army has been such that it's not just under Asim Munir, Bajwa, Musharraf, Kiani, Rahil. These are people in our memories. But all the way from the beginning, the role of the army in Pakistan's political fabric has been so outsized that saying that the army is going to be apolitical is sort of saying that the army is going to fly planes. That's not his job. That's the Air Force's job. By the way, the other services are different. The Navy, the Air Force have been quarantined from mainstream political life over decades. They have their own intelligence services. They have their own ambits. They have their own jobs. But you can see literally, and I've spent my career covering these guys, you can see that the politics of the army particularly stand out because of the structures of its ambit, the way it has always performed its job. Also, the very fact that this is not the garrison army of the British era, which used to live in cantonments, walled off from the rest of society. Rather, this is an army which has demographically changed over the last few decades. It's become a middle-class army, a lower middle-class army. The sort of people who have been recruited in the rank and file of the army have changed as far as the demographics of Pakistan are concerned. This army represents the changing demographic, economic face of the country, a middle-class, lower middle-class ethic, which reflects in its religiosity, which reflects in its business-mindedness, which you referred to, Military Inc., the Commodore did just a minute ago. So as far as just the very fact that the army is also the biggest conglomerate of the country, besides being the largest organization of the country, says something. The army today makes roads, makes cereals, holds bicycle races. This investment.
That's very interesting. But Ali Moeen, Nawazish, in some of those photographs we saw General Faz and General Bajwa together. He has now tendered his resignation, although he was not. He didn't. These officers didn't sort of supersede him. Do you think there was some sort of a friction or some sort of a trouble in the higher ranks of the army as well? Just that he resigned right at this time.
Well, I mean, trouble or another synonym, but definitely you had all these men compete for the same position. And then they were coming from very different parts of the spectrum. General Faiz has been known and is known to be very close to Imran Khan, and he helped Imran Khan come to power, stay in power, and one of the reasons why Imran Khan didn't want him to go as the DGISI back then, and so which led to the eventual was one of the flashpoints which led to the eventual falling out with General Bajwa. Maybe you had people with from such opposite parts of the spectrum, and then obviously either way or the other, there was going to be this expected, cleaning house, this purge, falling in line. One way or another, the new army chief was going to assert himself. And part of that would have meant that people like Faiz, who had worked and lobbied for the role so hard and maybe were even advising Imran Khan to carry out his public campaigns against General Bajwa or the establishment at that time. So that would definitely have gone. So it doesn't come as a surprise at all.
But Pansota, Imran Khan has been on the roads for last 6 months. He's been conducting rallies, but with his announcement that he's going to dissolve the assemblies now, do you think that phase is over, that chapter is over, that Hakiki Azadi March has ended finally, and now he'll be looking at other options to force an early election?
You see, I want to comment on two things. First of all, the very purpose of Hakiki Azadi March, which you see, one of the main conditions was that they wanted a free and fair elections at some point in time. So Imran Khan believes that what he has done the other day, he had two options. One option was to just march towards Islamabad and create a chaos. And the other option was to create pressure on the sitting federal government and then ask for elections. So he, in his wisdom, feels that by resigning from these assemblies, or maybe dissolving these assemblies, will create enough pressure on the federal government to ask for early elections. I mean, there is a simple maths: about 860 seats altogether, both the provincial and federal, out of which 567 are being vacated. So there will practically be it is going to be a general election. So anything short of a general election will not even suffice for Imran Khan. And at the same time, federal government, it will also not suit them, because they can't have different elections taking place at different times, such as the provincial assemblies and the federal government. Also, second part that I want to make a comment: every politician in Pakistan at some point in time has made an effort to push the establishment out of its unmandated role. But the only problem is that all of these political parties once again sat with the establishment. Now the real test for Imran Khan is that if through some means he's able to get the elections, will he do the same, or will he continue to maintain an anti-establishment streak and emerge as a true leader of Pakistan? Because if he does the same, then things are not going to change. So this is the real test for me as far as Imran Khan is.
डॉक्टर ताहिर, चीमा, आपको क्या लगता है कि आने वाले दौर में अगर इलेक्शन हुए तो क्या एक तरह से अगर इमरान खान दोबारा से वजीर आजम बने तो वो इस पैटर्न को ब्रेक करेंगे? क्या वो जिस तरह से बोल रहे हैं कि एक तरह से फौज और जो एस्टैब्लिशमेंट है उनका एक अलग रोल है और वो सियासत में ना दखल दे, क्या वो लगता है इस तरह से होगा?
सर देखें, इमरान खान की जो पॉलिटिकल करियर है वो ख़त्म हो चुका है। मैं आपको ये आज भी बात कर रहा हूँ कि इमरान खान की ये जो हकीकी आज़ादी मार्च से, इट वाज जस्ट अ ब्लंडर। आपने उनकी देखी है कि किस तरह से उनको फायर लगे, कोई फायर ऊपर जाता है, कोई साइड पे जाता है। अब ये मार्च भी इन्होंने ख़त्म किया है क्योंकि इनके पास कोई चीज़ ही नहीं थी, इनके पास कोई टॉपिक ही नहीं था कि मार्च को आगे लेकर कैसे चलें। इनका मकसद था कि अपना पसंदीदा आर्मी चीफ लगाया जाए, जिसमें वो कामयाब नहीं हुए। एस्टैब्लिशमेंट जो है खुद को पॉलिटिकल करना चाहती है, लेकिन ये उनको पॉलिटिकली इन्वॉल्व करते हैं। देखें, जब कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन का वोट आया तो ये हटे, तो उसके दौरान भी ये जनरल बाजवा साहब से मिलते रहे हैं, सब ने इसको जो है एक्सेप्ट भी किया है। उनके दौरान भी मिलते, जब ये एक साइड पे कहते हैं हम पॉलिटिकल आर्मी को देखना चाहते हैं, तो फिर दूसरी साइड पे उनको पॉलिटिक्स में इन्वॉल्व क्यों करते हैं? अब इन्होंने इस तरह का नैरेटिव, एंटी स्टेट, एंटी पाक आर्मी नैरेटिव क्रिएट कर दिया। आप पाकिस्तान की यूथ देखें कि हर किसी के, आप देखें, मैं फोन खोलूं तो व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस पे एंटी पाक आर्मी के स्टेटस लगे होते हैं। आखिर ये देना क्या चाहते हैं? ये नैरेटिव जो कि आप जफर साहब इस बात के देखेंगे, इंडिया में ये नैरेटिव चलता है एंटी पाक आर्मी। ये आपके मीडिया चैनल पे इमरान खान साहब के बयानात को चलाया गया है, एंटी पाक आर्मी के बयानात।
राइट। हालांकि जिस तरह से लोग काफी ज्यादा तादाद में उनकी रैलीज में आते हैं और उन्होंने इलेक्शंस में, जो बाय इलेक्शंस हुए उसमें उनकी अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस थी, तो लगता नहीं है कि उनका सपोर्ट कुछ कम हो रहा है, लगता तो है बढ़ ही रहा है। बट लास्ट
एक बात कह दूं, एक बात देखें, धरने जो होते हैं ना, जो प्रोटेस्ट होते हैं, मैंने पहले भी बात की है कि टीएलपी का प्रोटेस्ट, तहरीक लिबर्टी पाकिस्तान का, इनसे बड़े बड़े प्रोटेस्ट होते हैं और वो अपनी बात मनवाना भी जानते हैं, जो पाकिस्तान की पार्टी है। लेकिन इमरान खान साहब अपनी बात नहीं मनवा सकते। यूथ जो है ना इमरान खान साहब के, वो 1-2 दिन की है, उसके बाद ये खत्म हो जाती है। जी।
Right. Last word to you, Commodore Uday Bhaskar. Do you think that this new development, one, that there is a new army chief; second, that Imran Khan has ended his march and he's taken another route now, dissolution of assemblies. Do you think that this will mark a new chapter in Pakistan, one of stability and less of chaos from all sides? Also, the country is in a mess as far as economy is concerned.
Well, I would only say that one hopes that there would be some return to a semblance of stability in Pakistan, because that is of interest to all of Pakistan's neighbors, particularly India. But I must also add a note of caution. Looking at the current trends, I am not very hopeful, and I hope this will not be taken amiss that I'm saying it as candidly. because if the political parties want to contest and want to have their own, I would say, competitive politics, it should go back to the legislature, which means it should be within parliament, within the provincial assemblies. So, Mr. Imran Khan's current position, my reading, is that this is in a way trying to take the country itself hostage when there are so many other pressing issues. And I think some of my co panelists have drawn attention to the economic crisis that Pakistan has to deal with, which impacts the citizens of Pakistan. So, while one is hopeful, at the same time, as a student of Pakistan's politics and internal issues, I am not as hopeful as I would like to be. Zaffar sir?
Well, on that note, we come to the end of our show. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us today. That's all we have in our show today. Thanks for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.